Hey, it's Matt Haynes, and I get this question all the time. What is the best dynamic microphone to buy if you're YouTubing, podcasting, streaming, any kind of content creation, and you're on a budget? And I have reviewed a lot of dynamic microphones over the last 12 months or so. So what I've done is I've gathered them all together, all the best ones in different price ranges, and I'm going to let you hear them. And this is going to be a long video, but I'm putting in chapters, so feel free to just skip around and check out the microphones you want, and that way you can compare different microphones in different price points. We're going to go from least expensive to most expensive microphone, and I did set a cap on it just because, you know, there are some pretty boutique microphones out there. So basically the microphone has to be under $400 to make it into this video, and it has to sound decent for the price. Okay, so first up I have the Fifine K669D, and this microphone goes for $37, and that price has held steady since it was released. I guess it was released maybe about a year ago, something like that. It wasn't an introductory price. It's still that price last time I checked. And there is a companion microphone that they released at the same time, which is the K669C, which is a condenser microphone. Same shape, very different sound. So, just make sure that you know which one you're buying. That condenser microphone also goes for $37. Now, for $37, you would probably expect to get some sort of cheap plasticky microphone, but this is all metal, at least the microphone is. The clip has some plastic components to it, but the microphone, and it's really well made. It feels very solid, even though it is a tiny microphone. When you compare it with the other ones, you'll see what I mean. It's small, but it just feels really, really solid. The dynamic version of the K669, which is the one we're talking about here, you can actually unscrew the head basket, which is the grill on top, in case you want to see the diaphragm or the mic capsule inside. And if you do that, you can see that it has internal pop filtering. It's got some foam all around the inside of this, and that does cut down somewhat on plosives, those P and the B sounds that can overload your mic. Now, the microphone does not come with an external pop filter, a foam one that you can pop over the top there. And even though it does a pretty decent job of protecting against plosives, you do catch some P and B sounds overloading the microphone sometimes, so I would recommend getting one. Now, Fifine does sell one. Last time I looked, I don't know, it was about $10 or something like that, which does add to the cost. It doesn't come with it, though, so I'm not testing it with an external pop filter. But hey, why don't we do a plosive test? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, next up we have the ZDM1 dynamic microphone from Zoom. Now, Zoom is more known for their portable digital recorders, but they make a dynamic microphone. It's been out for a few years, and this microphone goes for $50. And it is a really solid workhorse, and it's definitely batting above its weight when it comes to quality versus price. Like most of these dynamic microphones, it's an end address microphone, which just means you speak into the end of it instead of on the side of it. A lot of condenser mics you speak into the side instead. Now, this microphone has a supercardioid pattern, which means it's projecting sound from the sides and the back, and it's focused primarily on sounds coming from the front. But a cardioid has its most quiet part of the microphone 180 degrees behind it. This microphone is supercardioid, so it has a little bit of sound pickup at the back, and then you actually have the nodes where it's most quiet off to the side there. This microphone does have a humbucking design, and if you're a guitar player, you've probably heard that term before, and basically it's exactly what it says. The design helps reduce hum, and especially picking it up from electromagnetic sources. Maybe you've got a fridge running nearby or like some sort of magnetic things, and this helps reduce noise there. And by the way, this microphone does have a pop filter. I haven't been using the pop filter, well, rather the external pop filter, because I wanted you to hear how it sounds. It does have internal foam as well, like a lot of these microphones, but I would highly recommend using the external pop filter as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a plosive test without it, and then I'll do a plosive test with it, and then I'll just continue with the foam filter on, so you can hear any sound difference that it might have. Okay, so plosive test with no pop filter. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, let's put that puppy on. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This microphone does come with a pouch that you can store the microphone in, as well as the external pop filter. It has a very basic microphone clip. You do get a couple more accessories than the Fifine microphone, but you are paying another $13. All right, next up is the Fifine Tank3 microphone. And this mic is unusual because it's a dual output microphone. Now, none of the other microphones that I'm reviewing today have a dual output. And what I mean is it has an XLR mic, which is a traditional output for a microphone, just a regular mic cable. But it also has a USB microphone output. So you can choose which way to use it. Now, if you are using the XLR output, there's a couple of knobs on here. They don't do anything because it's just kind of a basic microphone that way. But if you plug it in with USB, then you've got control over your mic level. You've also got a headphone output, and you can adjust the volume with that so you can hear your playback, just like any other USB mic. Now, there are obviously other dynamic microphones out there that also have USB. It's just that I don't happen to be reviewing any of those today. Now, this microphone goes for about $80, and it has its sensitivity is minus 50 dBV, which is the same as the Fifine K669D. So that led me to ask Fifine, hey, is it the same mic capsule inside? And they wouldn't tell me. So I don't know. I suspect it might be. Some of the other specs are very similar as well. Does it matter? No. Now, this microphone is not one that you would use to record a drum set, for example. Its maximum SPL or sound pressure level is 120 dB, which is on the low side, I think, for a dynamic microphone. You're not going to overload it with your voice, probably, but if you put it on a snare drum, you would maybe have trouble with it. But that's not the purpose of the microphone. It is designed for broadcast, podcast, YouTubing, and things like that. This microphone has a cardioid pattern like almost all dynamic microphones are some form of cardioid. That means it's more sensitive in front and tends to reject sound from the back and the sides. If you're using the mic in USB mode, you also have a mute button. Sadly, that doesn't work for the XLR output, which is the way I'm using it right now. In USB mode, you have two choices of sample rates. You have 44.1 or you have 48K. It's only a 16-bit microphone. Some of the higher-end USB microphones are 24-bit. In day-to-day use, that is not going to matter at all. One thing I did notice when I compared the USB and the XLR outputs is that the XLR output seems to have a slightly increased low-frequency response. There's a little bit more oomph down there. It is really minor. It wouldn't discourage me from using the USB connection at all. It's just something to be aware of. This microphone doesn't come with an external pop filter. It does have foam on the inside to help prevent against plosives. You can't take off the head basket, though. I mean, that's not something you would normally need to do, but I wanted to take it off when I was reviewing it. I couldn't get it off. Okay, let's do a plosive test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. The microphone has an interesting sort of one-legged yoke style of mic clip, and this is, I think, maybe the one thing that bugs me about the microphone is that this knob never tightens the mic completely. Even and it's plastic too, so I wouldn't want to crank on it too much, but even tightened up pretty well, I can still move the mic, so it's not going to drift out of place, but if you knock it, then you're going to have to reconfigure it. Minor detail, but I would have liked that to have been just a little sturdier. All right, next up we have the Audio-Technica AT2040, and this microphone goes for about $100. Now, the AT2040 has a very classic dynamic microphone look. In fact, I think it looks like a Electro Voice RE20 a little bit. This microphone has a hypercardioid polar pattern, which means it's directional, just like all the other dynamic microphones we've heard today, but it has a little bit of sensitivity from 180 degrees in the back, and then its most quietest zones are actually at angles coming from the back. This microphone does have shock absorption inside, built into the capsule as well, so the capsule is suspended and kind of like a shock absorber on a car. It kind of prevents, too many knocks and thumps from getting into the actual audio signal. The AT2040 has an internal pop filter, so it's got some foam, on the inside of the grill or the head basket. It doesn't come with an external pop filter, so you're limited to whatever protection you're getting from inside, unless, of course, you buy a third party or an add-on pop filter. So, of course, when I mention pops, we should probably do a plosive test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. This mic has a sensitivity of minus 53 dBV, which puts it kind of in the mid-range of all the mics we're looking at here in terms of sensitivity. That's pretty normal. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of fluctuation between any of the mics I'm demoing for you today. They're all, within about 4 dB of each other. The microphone comes with a pouch so you can keep your microphone safe. It comes with a pretty basic mic clip. It does come with a thread converter to adjust to, different sizes of mic stand mounts. And I got to say, I really like the AT or the Audio-Technica version of this adapter. I know that's not a big deal, but it's designed so that you can actually just screw it in and out with your thumb. You don't have to get like a quarter out and like twist it into the little grooves or something like that. Very easy to put on and put off. It was probably the easiest mounting of a microphone I got to do in any of this. Very small detail, but there you go. All right, next up we have the SE Electronics DCM6. Now, the DCM6 has a little cousin, the DCM3. The microphones are identical with the exception that the DCM6 has a booster built in. So if you connect phantom power up to it and you push that button, you've got the microphone already amplified, which is going to make the microphone way more sensitive. You're going to get a much stronger signal going to your preamp. Now, the DCM6 with the booster goes for about $150. The DCM3 is about $90, so you are paying extra for that booster. But in my opinion, of the two microphones, this is the one to go with. You just have more options when you have that signal boost. Now, SE Electronics, I mean, they always make quality microphones. I've reviewed a bunch of microphones from them over the years, and they've all been just really solid quality, and the DCM6 is no exception. It feels solid. It's just a high quality microphone. It sounds good, and it's not terribly expensive either. This microphone is a cardioid microphone, so you're going to get your maximum sound rejection from the back of the microphone, 180 degrees off axis. The DCM3 and the DCM6 have a sensitivity of minus 52 dBV, which is pretty quiet microphone, but when you engage that booster, that gets bumped up to minus 22 dBV, which is louder than most condenser microphones when you have phantom power turned on. So it is quite the boost. And I'm using it right now in boost mode because, why not? The DCM6 has an internal shock mount system, so the mic capsule is actually sort of suspended in space. So if you get any bumps on your mic stand or on the surface of the mic itself, it's going to help reduce that sort of handling noise. Also, it does come with an external pop filter and an internal pop filter. Now, the mic is designed to be used with both of those pop filters. In fact, if you take this foam pop filter off, it looks a little funny. I don't know, it's kind of a strange shape. So just keep the pop filter on. That's the way it's designed. That's the way it's supposed to sound, and you get, twice the protection. So speaking of pops, let's do a plosive test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, next up, we have another dynamic microphone from SE Electronics. This is the DynaCaster DCM 8, and it is the next level up from the DCM 6. Like the DCM 6, it's got an internal power booster, so if you apply phantom power, you get a pretty phenomenal boost in sensitivity, which is great for cutting down on noise and things like that. Without using the power booster, this has a sensitivity of minus 54 dBV, but with that power booster engaged, it's minus 24 dBV, which is plenty loud. The microphone goes for about $300, and it is squarely aimed at taking on the Shure SM7B. It's very similar in a lot of aspects. However, it's quite a bit cheaper, and even being cheaper, it has that internal power booster, which the basic Shure SM7B doesn't have. Like the Shure SM7B, you've got some EQ switches on the back, and here you've got an option of flat in the low end, or you can roll off the low end, or you can give a boost in the low end. And with the high end, you have flat, or you have boost, or you have double boost. Right now, I have it set so we're getting a bass boost, and we're getting the first level of the treble boost as well, just to give it kind of a scooped radio announcer kind of sound. It does come with internal and external pop filters, and I would think for most purposes, you're going to want to use the external pop filter, but as always, pop filters tend to roll off the high frequencies just a little bit, so maybe you like the sound better with it off. I'll do some plosive tests, and then I'll take the external pop filter off, and then you get to hear how it sounds both ways. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, let's take this pop filter off. All right, now we have the pop filter off, and let's do a plosive test with the pop filter off, but of course it has the internal foam still protecting the mic capsule from some amount of plosives. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Like the DCM6, the DCM8 does have an internal shock mount, so you are protected somewhat from handling noise. It's not perfect though, and it's definitely not like having a traditional spider style external shock mount. So if you're going to be using this on a desk, I recommend using a boom arm that's not actually attached to the desk, because you're just going to pick up noises as you're thumping around on the desk. Now, even though this is part of the DCM series, the mic capsule is different from the DCM3 and DCM6. It's larger for one thing, and also it's made out of aluminum instead of copper. So that is, I think aluminum is lighter than copper, so that should give it a better frequency response. And you also have that neodymium magnet going on in this microphone as well. No surprise here, this microphone has a cardioid pickup pattern, pretty standard for dynamic microphones. Now, I do have a couple of complaints about this microphone, but also I really love this microphone. So this is one of my go-to microphones. One complaint is the way the XLR connector is positioned. It doesn't work very well on some boom arms, and you're actually straining your cable when it kind of pushes against it. So that's not well placed. To be fair, the Shure SM7B also has the same problem, but I think they took copying that design maybe a little bit too far, because that definitely could have been improved on. And the other issue I have is that the switches on the back require something pointy to actually move them. That's like the Shure SM7B as well. The idea is that you set it and then you leave it alone, right? You just pick the sound that works best for your voice, and then it's protected. You can't accidentally flip switches, but you've got to get like some sort of toothpick or something to adjust them. And I don't know, I would have liked to have had a little bit more flexibility in adjusting those. All right, next up on our microphone list, we have the Heil Sound PR40, and this is a classy microphone. It looks great, it sounds great. It's also $350, so we are pushing the limits of what we can safely call a budget dynamic microphone. And it does have a cardioid pickup pattern, and I bring that up only because I did review its little cousin, the PR30 as well, which is a very different mic, even though they're in the same series. And that microphone is super cardioid pattern. This is just a regular cardioid pattern. Now, this microphone does come in a variety of colors. This one is the champagne finish, and there's also black, and I think a black and gold. There's also a chrome version, but the chrome version is $50 more. That makes it $400, which puts it out of our budget range that I set arbitrarily. The sensitivity on this microphone is -54 dBV, which is getting pretty quiet, but at least you can say, hey, it's not as bad as a Shure SM7B. The maximum SPL on this microphone is 148 dB, which is massive. You could definitely use this for any loud source you wanted. You can put it on a snare drum, you can put it on a kick drum, you could put it in front of a jet engine. Well, maybe not, but it will handle all sorts of loud sounds. The PR40 has this double mesh system. It's a double layer of metal mesh here in different sizes, which helps cut down on plosives, the bursts of air. And it also does have foam inside as well, so you have kind of a double protective system for plosives. It doesn't come with an external pop filter. I do find that it's maybe a little bit more sensitive to plosives than some of the other microphones, so you might want to consider using a pop filter on it anyway. Speaking of which, let's do a plosive test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. The microphone is also shielded and has a humbucking design, so if you have any, nasty motors or things in your studio that create electromagnetic interference, this is going to help cut those down. It also has internal shock mounting, so the capsule is suspended, it's kind of in space, so it's going to handle handling noises a lot better than a microphone that didn't have them. Now, the PR40 it's an old school mic, and it actually has been around for many years. It doesn't have any controls on it. There's no switches. There's no USB. It is just a microphone that puts out sound. So if you like a quality microphone that's going to last you for decades and sounds really, really good, then this is a great mic to consider. All right, and last on our list, we have the most expensive microphone on our lineup of budget dynamic microphones, and it's also the most unusual and unique. And quite frankly, I think this is an absolutely beautiful mic. It's the Corona microphone from Sontronics. Now, this microphone is based on the design of a microphone they made for guitar amps called the Halo, and it's the same shape and proportions, but they've tweaked the EQ, the frequency response, so that it works really well for vocals. This microphone is relatively sensitive for a dynamic microphone. Its sensitivity is minus 50 dBV. Now, of course, there's no internal power booster or anything like that, so it's just what you get is what you get. Now, the microphone doesn't come with a whole lot of accessories, but it does come with a really awesome flight case. Now, the flight case is made out of sort of ballistic plastic, or it's really solid. You could throw this off a 7-story building and the case would survive. Now, whether the microphone would survive, probably. This microphone doesn't have a cardioid polar pattern. It actually has a supercardioid polar pattern, which just means that instead of being, having its quietest part of the mic being directly behind it at 180 degrees, there is actually a little bit of sound that gets picked up there. And instead, you have these two null points off at angles, which can be handy if you're using this microphone live, for example. You could put a couple of monitor speakers, to either side, and it would, cut down on getting any feedback into the microphone from those. So the ring around this is not just for looks. It's actually a shock mount, and these are little springs that are holding the actual microphone itself kind of suspended in space in the middle of the ring. And internally, you also have the mic capsule, which is surrounded in foam, and that is helping with both pop protection or pop filtering and also another layer of shock protection. So this microphone is really well protected against shocks. As for pop filtering and plosive protection, that's where this mic is a little tricky to use. It's a combination of a couple things. There's no external pop filter. I really wish there was, because it would make it a lot easier to use. And internally, the mic capsule is like right up against the front of the grill of the microphone. So there isn't any like air gap to help relieve pressure when you get a big plosive. So the microphone is pretty sensitive to plosives. Also, the mic is very sensitive to proximity effect, and if you don't have good mic technique, if you're always moving back and forth away from the microphone or closer, you're going to get not only a variation in volume, but you're also going to get a variation in the low frequency response. So you do have to be very focused on the way you use this microphone. So let's do a proximity test, shall we? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, a couple of things before we go. Now, prices change all the time. So if you want to check current prices for any of these microphones, then I would appreciate if you would use the affiliate links I have down in the video notes. All right, I should let you know that many of these microphones were sent to me by the manufacturer to review them, and in most cases, they were sent to me to keep, but I haven't been paid to do any of these reviews. I certainly haven't cleared it with the manufacturers to do this microphone roundup. That's all my decision, and I'm not actually paid any money to do any of this. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.